Do you think I'm spooky?
Be afraid. Be very afraid. What have you done to its eyes?
Good evening and welcome to Soft and Spooky. For today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the latest Sam Raimi film called Send Help. If you haven't seen one of my review videos before, essentially in the first half, I am kind of giving a rundown of my thoughts on a film without any spoilers. So if you did still want to see it after my review, you can get my thoughts and still be able to see it. But in the second half, I am going a lot more in depth and giving some more spoiler territory thoughts on the film. I honestly have been waiting to do a review on this one. I've been so excited. So without further ado, let's go ahead and sink our teeth in. Wow, I'm so shy. I'm so shy right now. Okay. This film centers around an overworked employee named Linda, who is played by Rachel McAdams, as well as her overbearing boss named Bradley, who is played by Dylan O'Brien. During a business trip, their plane ends up crashing and they soon become stranded on a deserted island together. This was the first film that I got to see in theaters in 2026, and this is an awesome start to the year. Honestly, the AMC was packed. Like, the showing that I went to had pretty full seats. There was the one next to me that was empty, but I think that was in relation to, had a big giant white crusty stain on it. And I guess people are really excited about the movies. Or at least maybe it was like a showing of Wuthering Heights before this one. Ugh. As the lead character, this film stars Rachel McAdams, who you might know from Mean Girls, The Notebook, Doctor Strange, and one that I've been meaning to check out is Red Eye. Red Eyes, Red Eyes, Red Eyes. When you think about it, she actually has really good range because she's been in a comic book movie, a romance, a comedy. She just she does a really solid performance, whatever genre it is. I also really appreciated her performance here. She just this movie perfectly encapsulates like the banality of working in an office setting. And I just love how she's this kind of like frumpy, stressed out workhorse. And they even added like the detail of her having spider veins in her legs. And I was like, whoa, it's like looking in a mirror. So her obnoxious boss, Bradley, is played by Dylan O'Brien. And I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with his work. It looks like he was in Teen Wolf, the Maze Runner films, and a movie called Love and Monsters, which I haven't seen that either. But I'm having a hard time determining how I felt about his performance here. I don't know that he necessarily blew me away with his portrayal of being a boss, but it wasn't a bad performance. I felt like, and I don't know if it may have been relating to the writing, I just wish that there was a little bit more oomph to his character. Like maybe he was a little bit more charismatic and you're like, oh, this guy's smarmy and kind of a piece of garbage, but you also are kind of like, oh, he's very entertaining to watch. Like, kind of think about Bill Lumbergh from Office Space, like, oh, you're the worst. But he does have that charisma that really enables you to hate him. And I felt like I wasn't hating this boss enough for some reason. Send Help was directed by Sam Raimi, and if you're a Raimi fan, you kind of could see that he definitely injected some of his signature humor into this. If you're unfamiliar with his work, he has done the Evil Dead franchise, he also did the early 2000s Spider-Man films, and more recently he did the Doctor Strange films. I have to say, Sam Raimi is one of those directors that really does inspire me because you see his passion in his work. I love that he started off with humble beginnings, just shooting on Super 8 film with some of his buddies, and look at him now, like he's kicking ass in the box office, and it really does inspire me. I am going to include a clip, but basically there's this Easter egg in all of his films that I think really drives home just how like earnest and humble he is.
Could you just tell me the story about this car and why it stayed with you throughout your film career?
That car was my mother's car in Detroit back in the 70s. It's a 1973 Delta 88 Oldsmobile, and I found out that when I was making my Super 8 movies, it always was the car I could borrow. Mom, can I borrow your car to put in the movie? Mom, I need to run over Bruce Campbell. Can I use your car? When I went to college, she gave that car to my brother and I to use to get back and forth from the university. Then, when I made my first feature film, I needed a car to put in the film, and the only one I could have access to again was my mother's car. Can I use your car for Evil Dead to put in the movie? Yeah. Then I made the sequel, and it had to be in that because it was established. And I found out after that that it had actually been in all my movies that I ever made. And I started to just put it in the movies because it had always been there. I felt comfortable with it.
I think it's such a fun Easter egg just because it also ties back to his roots of like, I had to borrow my mom's car in order to make these films. And when you're an early filmmaker, you're just doing whatever you can to make your vision come true. And I love that he still includes that even today. One of the examples of seeing some of his humorous camera work is early on into the film, Bradley asked one of his colleagues to smell, I think it was like something on his hand, and it was a piece of tuna fish, and he asked his colleague to smell it. And the shot zooms in on the dude's nose. It's actually the Allstate guy. I don't know. Just thought that was interesting. But yeah, the actor from the Allstate commercials, they zoom in and you just like see his like nostrils flaring as he's sniffing the piece of tuna fish. And it's just like, it's that camera work that kind of makes you go like, what? What is happening here? And I love that. I think that that's so fun. That is something I feel like the cinematography for Send Help wasn't anything extraordinary. It was a solid film to look at, but I think that was kind of important for me, that not all of these films have to be these stunning visual masterpieces. It can just be fun, and that is okay. And I think that that was really important to me. I still enjoyed Send Help, even though it was just fun. Additionally, another huge bit of fun in this is the over-the-top gore. It's like gore and then disgusting. Like, there's a throw-up scene that's just crazy. In general, I hate seeing any animal abuse or animal deaths in films, and oddly enough, I think this film kind of towed that line or skated around it enough that it didn't bother me. So basically, Rachel McAdams' character, Linda, she is hunting a boar. And she just, with this sharpened stick, she obliterates that thing's head. Thankfully, I think what saves it from being too real for me is the fact that, like, the CGI was not the best. It was pretty, it didn't look like a real boar. So that helped me distance myself from it. But then additionally, Linda, she is hunting this boar, and she takes a sharpened stick, and she stabs it in the head, just really, it's a lot. But they just make it so over the top that it's kind of hilarious because it is just geysers of blood shooting at her and then also snot coming out of the thing's nose. It was so gross. And that's the interesting thing is that usually if there's an animal death in a movie, I'm pretty much like covering my ears, I'm closing my eyes. I don't want to hear it. It just like really upsets me. But this one, I couldn't even look away. It was just so disgustingly over the top. And I think that was pretty good. I also think that the script put in some pretty humorous lines and kind of little details that make you chuckle. So the first one that pops in my head is that in the office, Bradley is so disgusted by tuna fish. He's absolutely repulsed by it. But then you see once he's on the island, it's pretty much only fish that they're eating. I mean, they eat boar once, but it's like mainly fish. And so I think that's kind of funny that it's putting him through that. I also liked when on the island, Linda is eating a mango and Bradley is just ravenous. He is super hungry and she finishes eating it and tosses it aside. And he whimpers in like this most pathetic way. He's saying like, oh, there's a lot left on that. And it just, I don't know. I felt that. I felt that when I've gone out to eat with friends. I'm like, damn, I would have cleaned that off like entirely. So it's just, I think that that's funny. I think one thing that I did notice is that there is kind of a chasm between the development of Bradley's character and the development of Linda's character. I think maybe that was one of my issues, is that you learn a little bit about Bradley's childhood or like background, but there's not really much that makes you invested in him. But Linda, I think that her background was very well developed. So she's really interested in survival tactics and kind of like hunting and doing all this stuff on your own and living out in the wild. And so I think they did a really good job adding believability to that, because she even gives him some pointers like, don't eat the yellow, green, or white berries because those are usually poisonous, as well as if you're not sure about whether something's poisonous, you take the berry and you smash it and rub it on your skin and you wait and see if there's any reaction. And if there's a reaction, it's probably poisonous. I did some fact checking. It does seem like that's kind of true. Like those seem to be legit tips, and I thought that was kind of cool. I also thought that it was kind of interesting that her office job position was in strategy and planning, and you really see that she utilizes that part of her brain and is very much into planning out things. So I felt like it was very well developed and it made a strong background for her. Oh my gosh, one of the coolest things, and it was such a, I don't know, minimal detail because it's actually in the end credits, but I love that they decided to put the schematics for all of the tools and like the shelters and stuff that Linda creates in the film. And I think that was cool because I almost wonder, did they actually make these things and construct them as like the prop team to make them functional? And that was actually what they used to design it. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting and I love that detail. So for me personally, I thought that Send Help has the gore, the humor, and the few twists and turns that I wasn't expecting, and it just really felt like a fun ride. I strongly encourage you to go see this, or at least see it on streaming, because it's fun and it allows you to let loose a little. All right, so that just about does it for my... Scary. Okay, so that just about does it for my spoiler-free review. If you are interested in seeing the film, feel free to click out of the video now. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, so let's hop into the spoilers in 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Okay, so I gotta give you the juicy details, of course. The basic rundown of this is that Linda and her boss get stranded on a deserted island after a plane crash. During the crash, Bradley is injured but does survive, and so he ends up depending on Linda for protection as well as food. And it kind of results in this power dynamic reversal. What I love is that in the beginning, you're 100% rooting for Linda. It's very satisfying to see him look so pathetic and her kind of taking this powerful lead. But then you notice, she's a little bit unhinged. She ends up preferring to live on the island and has no intention of getting Damn. She ends up preferring to live on the island and has no intention of getting rescued.
Oh, Hooch. Hooch is crazy.
Once she tells Bradley that, he freaks out and basically drugs her and tries to make his escape, but he doesn't have the skills, the survival skills to escape, and ends up literally crawling back to Linda. So she does retaliate later and ends up giving him something to paralyze him temporarily and pretends to cut off his sausage.
Hooch is crazy.
Go! Oh, I gotta close that window.
Yeah, New York, I love it.
You can probably still hear it through the air conditioner. Also, in the beginning, she warns Bradley to not go over to the opposite side of the island because there's like a bunch of thorn bushes there and he would get all scratched up. And instantly you know, okay, something's up here. Something's up with over on the other side, and you're wondering what she's hiding. So the first twist is that on that island, there actually have been rescue boats that have been looking for them. And the second rescue boat that you see is actually the fiancé of Bradley. In the beginning of the film, you meet Bradley's fiancé that is just this model-esque woman, and she's got a huge rock on her finger that Linda's basically kind of stunned by. So the same fiance ends up finding Linda along with her guide that brought her there, and obviously Linda doesn't want to leave the island. So as she's walking back and kind of taking them in the direction of Bradley, you can tell that she's scheming, and she ends up coming back to Bradley alone. So you're left wondering, okay, well, what happened? Where did the fiance go? Well, basically, Bradley is hunting for a boar, and he sees that the boar is along the water chewing on something. Scares away the boar. It's a hand. It's a hand with a big engagement ring on it.
Yo, Hooch is seriously crazy.
Linda pushed the fiance and the guy that was helping her, which, like, damn, he didn't even deserve that. Well, neither did the fiance, but it just kind of felt like he got in the crosshairs. But yeah, she pushes them both over the cliff. And I'm like, damn, it's kind of hard to root for you, Lynn. Like, uh-oh, is the protagonist a villain? So Bradley is hunting down Linda, and there's this big confrontation that happens, and he ends up chasing her. I think we even get a good, like, kind of eye gouge moment. Excellent. The gore actually was so good for this one. And he ends up chasing her across the island over to that other side, which we already thought that the twist had been revealed. But we have our second plot twist, and that is there is a huge mansion that a millionaire owns right on the other side of the island. So Linda has been sneaking over there this whole time. And it makes you look back and question, like, okay, did she actually make that, or did she get that from the millionaire's house? And did she actually make the sushi, or did she just get it from their fridge? And it was like, oh my gosh. I don't know. That blew me away. And I think that was something that was really entertaining for me, is that you see this strong tie of things being set up in the beginning or like at an earlier point coming into fruition. Sort of like what I said in the non-spoiler thing, where it's like Bradley hates tuna fish, but then ends up eating fish constantly. And he loves golf, and Linda ends up really liking golf in a different way. Another thing is that in The Office, Linda says that her go-to karaoke song is One Way or Another by Blondie, and she ends up having that song at the end as she's driving off. We will do that. Well, it's going to be loud to edit. One thing that's kind of interesting to note, and I'm not sure if it was intentional, but the song One Way or Another was actually featured in another Rachel McAdams film called Mean Girls. The scene that song is playing in the film is when Katie, the lead character, is trying to sabotage Regina, which was Rachel McAdams' character. And I was like, I wonder if that was a nod. I kind of liked it. One thing that stood out to me, and I felt like it really made sense for Linda's character, is when she is talking about her past. We come to find out that Linda was married at one point to this alcoholic, abusive husband, and once he passes away, she really becomes enamored with the show Survivor, and she gets very interested in survival tactics and tactical techniques. I kind of really like this angle, and I might be reading way too much into it, but to me, that kind of makes sense for her character, because a lot of trauma or abuse survivors have basically been living in survival mode for such a long time. And it kind of makes sense to her character that she becomes sort of the enlarged version of that, like really throws herself into becoming the survivor. I like to think that that's connected, and if it was intentional, I think that really is an interesting take for her character, and I find it very believable. That being said, there were a couple things, specifically, it was the ending that it felt a little bit fuzzy on the logic for me. So at the end, you see that she is on this, it almost seems like a world tour for golfing. She took up Bradley's hobby, and she is famous for surviving what she went through on the island. But the thing is that now that we know that there is a millionaire's house, and we even saw people delivering food to it and almost sort of seeming like property managers. Technically, it wasn't a deserted island. So would that really be that impressive would that make her that famous from just the plane crash? I mean, maybe. I don't know. I wasn't sure why she would become a celebrity at that point. I also wish at the end that we could have had a very tongue-in-cheek moment where as she's driving off in her car and they're playing one way or another, they brought it full circle, and she has either she's wearing the big diamond engagement ring or she has it hanging from her rear view mirror or something, or the stick shift. I just think that would have been really cool to see and just been a fun little nod, but ultimately they didn't do it, and it's fine. But yeah, so it was kind of an interesting film because you think you're rooting for her, then you're like, oh, you're kind of not awesome. And then at the end, I think they expect you to root for her, and it's just like, oh, I don't know how to feel about this. Ultimately, I found this to be such a fun time. I think that the humor really landed for me, and it seemed to really land for the audience, because when I went to see it in theaters, people were having a good time and laughing out loud at some of the lines. And so, I don't know, I think it's really enjoyable for a lot of people. I also think that the gore was just ridiculous and disgusting, and people vomiting and eyes getting gouged, and it was just, it was so Sam Raimi. It was so Evil Dead origins. There even was a hallucination that Linda has that I kind of wondered if it was a Deadite from the Evil Dead series, because it looked very deteriorated and kind of that old school look that the films had. I don't know, but yeah, I really had fun. Oh, there was something I wanted to look up. Did Dylan O'Brien really eat a bug in Send Help? No, he didn't eat a real bug. Okay, so he didn't actually eat the bug, but I thought it looked really realistic. I'll put the clip here. Basically, he's so ravenous, he ends up eating a bug and it makes him super sick. But yeah, it was really gross and really fun. And I hope you go see it, because this one was such a fun entry, and we have so many good horror movies to look forward to this year. So I hope you leave your thoughts down in the comments below. So that is about it for my Send Help review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, definitely leave this video a thumbs up. It helps me in the algorithm, especially as a smaller channel. And yeah, please let me know if you saw this or if you want to see this. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I am still trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, and I would love for you to stick around. If you've been on this channel for a little while, you might be wondering, where did all my stuff go? Have I been ransacked, marauded, burgled?
The hell was that? Are you the criminals? From the statistics?
Well, I actually have huge news, because I am finally moving. I am finally going to be making the trek all the way across the country from the East Coast to Arizona.
This is the way we talk in Tucson, Arizona.
While I've been living here, I have met some really wonderful people and made some truly amazing friends. Actually, let me show you. So this was actually given to me by a friend of mine at one of my favorite restaurants. He is really big into urban exploring, and he brought a little piece of Pennsylvania to me. This is the Harrisburg State Hospital that was torn down, and he was able to snag a little piece of a brick from that. So thank you so much, Joey. And then I also have this cutie pie. This was made by one of my friends, Caitlin. She crocheted a Mothman for me, and it is quite possibly the cutest thing I've ever seen. I truly feel so blessed to have received so many opportunities that I did in Virginia, and met so many wonderful people and experienced really great things. And I'm just really excited to make new memories out west. All that to say, I just want to warn you that there might be a little bit of a lull in my videos just because I'm going to be traveling across the country, but there is so much new content to come, and I'll be back with a vengeance once I've moved in. But yeah, I don't want to take up too much time in this video, but I just wanted to share that with you because it's a pretty big life step for me, and I can't wait to be making videos in the place that I've dreamed of. So I hope you stick around. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to stay soft and spooky. Bye.